Welcome to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the show. Lee Brecheen, your host, with Jace Lejeune as our producer. We have a great lineup today. We got former LSU center Mike Gambrell as our archive interview. Kevin Cook, head coach at Tioga, is our human interest story. We got recruiting scoop, which starts the show off with Blake Shapen, the quarterback from Evangel Christian. You don't want to miss that interview. And also, Mickey Mays, the D coordinator for East Central Mississippi Junior College, will be talking about how kids can go to a junior college and what it's about, and much, much more. You're listening to Sports Scouting Report with Lee Brecheen.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. It's time for Going Deep in Recruiting.
Hi, I'm Lee Brecheen, your host here, and we have Jace Lejeune, our producer, and this is our Recruit of the Week. And before I introduce Blake Shapen, the quarterback from Evangel Christian High School, one of the top quarterbacks to me in the country, I want to just talk about this is one of the best players that people don't know about outside of the South and outside of Louisiana, and he's gaining
a good one.
Gaining a lot of steam here, like I thought would happen. And Blake, thanks for joining us. And tell everybody where you are. You're actually en route to Los Angeles.
Yes, sir. I'm in Denver right now. We just landed here, so we're waiting for our next flight to go to Los Angeles.
And you're going to visit USC, right? The USC Trojans.
Yes, sir. We're on our way to USC. Yes, sir. My official visit.
You excited? I know you're tired. You got in the plane, 5 o'clock this morning?
Yeah, I had to get up at 5:30, and then we had to get to the airport, and we flew out at 6:50 or something like that. So yeah, I slept all the way on the plane.
This is the stuff people don't talk about in recruiting, huh? The stuff you have to do to get there.
Definitely.
You're tired too, because you've had coaches come in your house this week. I heard Baylor was at your house recently. How did that go, Baylor?
It was good. They came by the school, and they talked to me and threw the ball for him a little bit, and then they went to go to my house, talk with my mom and stuff like that. So
I hear Chip Kelly's interested too. UCLA, is that true, Chip Kelly?
Yes, sir. They just offered me yesterday. I thought they were, because they were in contact for a little while, and they were just waiting for him to get back in the office, because he's the only one that gives out the scholarship.
And so
he's the only guy that gives scholarships out there. So
that's good.
They had to wait for him to get back, and then they offered me yesterday.
And then I heard you also got Indiana, which is an up-and-coming team in the Big Ten. They've
come
offered
off a good
you.
year.
Yeah, real good year. And I know you're there. What are the coaches telling you, Blake, the college coaches like Baylor, USC, UCLA? I know Graham Harrell came out from USC to talk to you.
Former Texas Tech quarterback.
Yeah. So what are they telling you? Are they comparing you to anybody? Are they telling you that you look like this quarterback or that quarterback?
Okay, so I actually talked to Clay Helton, and the first time I talked to him, we were just talking or whatever, and he was just telling me that, I have a lot of different type of quarterback, style play in me that he could compare me to, but he said I mainly remind him of Baker Mayfield.
I agree on that one. Yeah,
that's a good comparison.
And then I have a little bit of Sam Darnold in me, so I was like, okay,
I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Chip obviously will probably tell you compare to someone. He's a quarterback guru coach. So
yeah, I haven't, but he hadn't called me officially yet. It's been the OC or the quarterback coach and director of player personnel guy. They talk to me all the time. So, but Chip hasn't officially called me because he's been out recruiting. But he finally got back to give them the okay to offer me. But yeah, they tell me they like my moxie and everything, my competitiveness, the way I spin the ball, my tight release, and the way I can move and throw on the run.
Yeah, and Blake, has Dave Aranda, have you talked to Coach Aranda yet at Baylor?
Haven't talked to Coach Aranda.
But Coach Thomas at Baylor, I think, came to see you.
Yeah, that's who I've been talking to.
Well, man, I hope they have donuts on the plane when you get back on the plane and some milk, right? Maybe some cookies or something, or pretend the peanuts are cookies. But,
yeah.
But tell your dad, Ken, I said, hey, and I'm glad this is happening for you. You're deserving of this. You're one of the great players in the state, and you led your team as far as you could take them your senior year against St. Thomas More, and I'm just excited for you, man. I know you're going to be with a big-time program when this is said and done.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all for having me.
All right, man. Get you some rest. Good luck.
All right, I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Interesting stat for the recruiting scoop, and this is something that I haven't seen in 30 years. You know, Army in West Point, Jace, has always recruited Louisiana. I've met every new D coordinator, every new recruiting coordinator, director of ops, whoever recruits. Usually it's new person every 5 years or 3 years.
Sure.
They usually sign one player from Louisiana, maybe two.
Yeah.
Right now, there are 8. I said it, 8 players from Louisiana going to Army in the same class. That is incredible.
Indeed. And some of them are in the same backfield. Will probably be in the same backfield.
This might end up being almost half of a class, which is a record for Louisiana. I just want to point this out to the Louisiana people and to the nation. Acadiana running back Dylan Monette that's been on our Louisiana football TV show.
This past week, and his teammate, too.
Lucky Brooks, who's also his teammate at Acadiana.
All Acadiana backfield, potentially.
John Curtis is Colin Guggenheim, quarterback.
Yep. Quarterback of John Curtis.
Your old high school Catholic High Baton Rouge, Connor Fuenson.
Fanukin.
Yep.
Fanukin.
Don't want to mess that up. He's a big lineman. He gets mad.
Yeah, he get pretty angry sometimes.
Live Oak High School, Key Hawkins, running back, fullback.
Fullback, yes, sir.
Ascension Catholics, I think an O-lineman, Nick Hilliard.
Nick Hilliard, he's a beast.
Lusher Charter, big-time sleeper, Miles Stewart, running back.
Yes, sir.
Catholic High School again,
yep,
Joseph Alexander, I think a very good player. And finally, Lafayette Christian's outside linebacker, I think a Mike linebacker, Princeton Malbrook.
Yep, he came on. I think he was the MVP of that state championship game when LCA won. I think those first 3 or 4 committed as of now. The other ones are targeted by Army.
In his junior year, 6'2", about 205. Now he's about 215, 220. He filled out, like Coach said earlier, from East Central Mississippi. Sometimes that next year, you just look the part more, and so you're going to get recruited more heavily. And he just filled out. You know, he was always tall and a good-looking player. So 8 players committed. Now, they might not all sign.
Yeah, they might not all sign.
But as of right now, if they all sign, it's a record for Army recruiting Louisiana.
Yeah, my man. Especially, I know the first 3 or 4 names you mentioned. I know, it looks pretty much like they're going to Army. But we'll see how it's confirmed.
And the coach doing all the work, I want to give him some credit, is Coach Brent Davis.
He's the offensive coordinator at Army.
For Army, yeah. We met him. He came to our TV show to talk to his players. So I think
he was recruiting Catholic High at the time.
That's right. Well, it saved him a trip to Lafayette too, right? So he could talk to the Acadiana kids.
Yeah.
And but that's our recruiting scoop.
It's time for the hot take.
Welcome back. Lee Brecheen, your host, joined by Jace Lejeune, our producer, does a really good job. And our next guest is a longtime college coach at East Central Mississippi Junior College in Mississippi. And we want to educate people about what it's like to go to a junior college and how they get in touch with junior college. A lot of parents don't even know. But a year ago, I got to be friends with Coach, and his name is Mickey Mays, and Mickey has been a really strong recruiter in Louisiana. The head coach at East Central is a friend of mine, Ken Karcher. A little resume on Ken, signed with Tulane out of high school, actually Notre Dame, and transferred to Tulane and finished. It was a pretty big deal. He was a great quarterback at Tulane in his day and a longtime coach. And Coach Mickey Mays, thanks for joining us.
Yes, sir. Good to be here.
It's good working with college coaches, Coach, and it's all about relationships, right, Coach, and trusting people, giving you players to go see. And I know this is okay to talk about because he's a current player for you, but last year I remember me and you talking, and you were like, man, who do I go see? And I was able to help you with a player. Talk about that player and where he's from that's on your team right now from Louisiana.
Yes, Joshua Ratcliffe is from Assumption. And you put me on him. And Joshua it was a young man with a high ACT and actually a qualifier coming out of high school, and really didn't have what he was looking for. Really didn't have the offer he wanted yet. So I went and I talked to his head coach, and went and saw him play basketball. And he was, a little bit short for some of the big schools coming out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
And saw him play basketball. He was playing center, and he's probably 6 feet at the tallest. But he was playing against a guy that was 6'6", and he just totally dominated him. And just a high character young man and a great motor, a great teammate. We offered him on the spot down there. He and his mom came up, and he committed to us. Started every game this year. Made second team All-League as a defensive lineman, and we're glad to have him back for this next year.
And Coach, that's just a great story because you've got mom and dads and kids, and Coach, you've been doing this a long time. If a kid doesn't get a D1 offer, a 1AA offer, or even a D2, D3, and they need to go to junior college, the next step's not to quit playing football. I mean, some people just don't know their choices, and they don't even know how good they are sometimes. And I'm glad I'm one guy in the country that can, call and talk to coaches like yourself and help you. We can't talk about the names, but there's some guys you're recruiting right now in Louisiana. And tell, if a mom or dad's listening or a young man's going to listen to this show, tell them about East Central Mississippi, Coach, and where it's located in Mississippi and what the process would be. And obviously you got to be a starter and you got to have some talent, but tell them about how they can get in touch with East Central Mississippi and what is the process to try and get recruited.
Well, East Central Community College is in Decatur, Mississippi. We're between Meridian, Mississippi and Jackson, Mississippi. So we're not too far from Louisiana. The junior colleges really have two main reasons to go to junior college. Number one is if you do not academically qualify for the NCAA, which means maybe your ACT is a little bit low or your core GPA is a little low, then you go to junior college and you have to graduate to go to NCAA, Division I or Division I AA, Division II for that matter. And we've had young men to come here, go to Colorado, Mississippi State, Virginia Tech, Central Florida, University of Memphis, Florida Atlantic, all over the nation. We get recruited by every school in the nation, and it's just a great opportunity. Now, the other reason would be, and I'll give you two examples. We had two young men that had Division II offers out of high school. They had no Division I offers. Their high school coaches thought they were better, and they came here to East Central. One of them signed with from here to Virginia Tech. One of them signed with Colorado and played 2 years, and now is with the Green Bay Packers. He was on their practice roster this year. And this is a young man that his only offer out of high school besides us was Division II.
Yeah.
And now he's in the NFL. So it's just a lot of it is, how badly do you really want to keep playing football? How hard are you willing to work, not only on the field in the weight room, but also in the classroom? How badly do you want it? I know that sounds old school and kind of corny, but that'll never change. So, but we are a very structured program. Some people will confuse us with East Mississippi. They did the Netflix Last Chance U.
Right.
We're East Central Community College Warriors. We have a brand new football facility that we're moving in this month. That's nothing better in junior college. The Mississippi Junior College is the best league in the country. We have the best scholarships. 14 junior colleges in Mississippi play football. We have 7 teams in the North Division, 7 in the South Division. 2 teams from each division go to the playoffs every year. And we've been to the playoffs 2 times in the last 5 years. And we train our young men. Our head coach, you mentioned Ken Karcher, one of his first jobs was with Johnny Majors at the University of Pittsburgh.
That's right.
And, of course, Ken played in the NFL. And he runs our program just like a Division I program. And that's why a lot of the 4-year schools come back. Once they get one of our players, they call and say, "Hey, do you have anybody else like him?" It's a disciplined program, very structured. Academics. If you don't go to class, you're not going to practice.
And Coach, let me mention this because this is a way for you to be a vehicle to get this out. Tell everybody what 2 positions, because y'all do have limits on the amount of scholarships y'all give out of state, but what 2 positions, if a high school coach is listening right now, I know that D lineman or a position you're trying to fill and maybe the right safety or some other positions, but what are some positions right now you're trying to fill if a high school coach hears this?
Yes, that's a good point. Good point. We're allowed. We have a small roster, 55-man roster. 45 of our players have to be graduates of Mississippi high school. So we have 10 out-of-state players. Now, which the Kansas junior colleges, they can sign. They might sign 35. They might have 70 out-of-state players out of Kansas.
Right. California
every
too.
year.
California's like that too.
And California, so it's more of a can I make the roster type deal. In Mississippi, if we sign an out-of-state player, we're expecting him to come in and be a starter.
Right.
Now, it doesn't always, not 100%, but the expectations are for him to come in and start. I started rambling a little bit, but what was the rest of your question?
No, you covered it, Coach, and you covered it pretty good. I think people listening, the podcast, being able to have you on is an honor and I'm glad that we're able to work together. And I want to keep helping you sign players in Louisiana. And I just wanted the high school coaches and the parents to be able to hear you because, they don't know. Sometimes they're just trying to figure it out. If it's not LSU in-state or Louisiana Tech or ULL or ULM, they don't know what to do, So I think this is going to be really good for the parents and the coaches to hear this. And Coach Mays, keep doing a wonderful job with being the defensive coordinator, and you're doing a heck of a job recruiting and try and get you 5-6 kids out of Louisiana this year.
We hope we can, and we really, really appreciate you giving us the time to be on here and kind of pump up East Central Community College Warriors.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck with all the traveling, man. Get some rest. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
If you're a parent that needs a highlight tape and you need consulting advice on how to deal with the recruiting process, please contact Lee Brecheen, who has had over 30 years of experience dealing with college coaches and making highlight tapes all over the country. For more information, please contact Lee Brecheen at lbrecheen@aol.com. That is lbrecheen@aol.com.
It's time for the Coach's Chalk Talk
Hi, Lee Brecheen here. I want to introduce one of our great high school coaches in Louisiana from South Terrebonne High School, Richard Curlin, who has 30 years of coaching at South Terrebonne, is a 1976 graduate of South Terrebonne, and returned to the school in '84 as a coach and also as a teacher. Has really done a great job, and 6-5 this past season, has made the playoffs several times in his career. And Coach, really excited to have you in our segment for Chalk Talk. And you're one of the guys in the state that started this wing tee, and tell us how that evolved for you as a coach to use the wing tee and be so successful with it.
Well, it's not that I've, of course, started anything, but we had run the wing tee when I was an assistant for a few years. And then when I got the head job, we had actually gone to the veer. I mean, we were always in a situation, Lee, it seemed like that, we had undersized kids, especially our linemen being undersized. And I just felt that the veer would, you don't have to block a couple of guys on the play side. So it made it easier. You had a lot more angle blocks and things like that you didn't have to go against, head up against bigger guys. And but the thing about the veer, of course, is you got to have a quarterback that can run it, and you got to have time to practice it and implement it. And back then we were on the 4x4, so we had that time, long lunch hour, could do that kind of thing. And then that kind of changed, and we didn't have a quarterback like that one year, and so I asked our defensive coaches. I said, "Hey, what do y'all hate to defend?" And they all pretty much said that, "Hey, we hate the wing tee," And so I said, maybe we need to go back to the wing tee. So as a head coach, we went back to the wing tee, in the mid '90s. We'd won the state championship with the veer in '91, and we're running the wing tee in the '90s, and again, because it allows you to have some undersized kids, you do a lot of angle blocking, and it allows you to have a kid that's not a super athlete at quarterback and still win games, and so that's basically the reason why we went to it and stuck with it, really until the last few years. I mean, the last few years that I was coaching, we kind of, pretty much started getting out into more of the spread offense like other teams are doing.
And Coach, we talked about it off the air. You said the word dinosaur. The wing tee you don't see that many people running it anymore.
No, and it used to they used to, of course, be more even in the state. They had a wing tee camp that they first were doing up in Arkansas, and then they were doing it at Northwestern. They're right there in Natchitoches for it. We'd go to that every year, and but in other parts of the country, you have a few people that still run it. But you're right. I mean, everything is spread people out as much as you can now from sideline to sideline, and try to create one-on-ones and places to run the ball.
Coach, before we let you go, Coach Curlin, if you can think in this memory bank of yours going 30-plus years as a coach, name a couple of players that you thought ran probably your offense as good as anybody, not so much as a prospect, but who are a couple of guys that played for you that you would say, man, these guys they really got the wing tee and they ran this probably as good as you can do it?
Well, I mean, we had a couple of guys on that '91 state championship team. We weren't running the wing; we were running the veer. David Butler, that kid, that running back for us that went on to LSU, and the quarterback that we had was also an all-state player. And then we went into the wing tee. One of the things that we always were fortunate to have was some good running backs. A kid by the name of Aaron Harris, was a good one that we had. A kid by the name of Philip Livas that went on and played for Louisiana Tech. Was a good one
with the Dolphins a little bit too, I believe. Well,
yeah, with the Dolphins a little bit. He was a special athlete. going into his senior year, you go to these night camps that they had back then. And the night camp at LSU, Philip had run the fastest time in the nation, like a 4.23, and
trending holiday speed.
Yeah. It was always fun to have somebody like that when you could have them, when you could have them like that.
Well, Coach, hang on, don't hang up, and I appreciate you calling in. Thank you, Coach Curlin. You've done a phenomenal job, and you've always been a friend of our magazine, Louisiana Football. Thank you, Coach, for being a part of today's show.
Will do, man. All right, thank you.
It's time for the fan segment of the week.
Hi, I'm Lee Brecheen, your host, and we have our fan segment of the week. I'm very excited, Jace. We've got a good friend of mine, T-Boy Hebert, that is from Lafayette, Louisiana. Actually, originally, tell everybody where you're originally from, T-Boy.
Well, I'm from Jeanneret.
Jeanneret, yes.
And went to UL, and ironically, I left there after 2 years and ended up going to drilling mud school, got in it all field, moved to Kennemetery, and I've been here since '74. Went back to UL at 59 years old and got a degree, and on to get a master's from UNO.
Tell everybody, all the moms and dads that are listening all over the state, coaches will be listening to this. You're a passionate fan. You love football. I mean, you love football as much as anybody that I know. And you love your Cajuns. And tell everybody, when did you start liking the Raging Cajuns of UL?
And I kind of got away from it back in '69. Really got involved again when Stokely got there, and my friend Jerry Beach, amongst other coaches, started coaching when Delone was playing. And in the mid '80s, just made it a passion. I did always really love the school. That's where I went to college. I wanted to go no other place. I visited LSU in Baton Rouge, a great bastion of higher education, and of course, one of the greatest programs in the country. But just something grabbed me in Lafayette when I went there, and that's where I ended up. That's where my passion is. I have a chair, donated a chair, Martha and I did, to the business school there, and that's where most of my money goes. But it's just, it isn't a religion like a lot of people. It's a passion for what the institution does and supposed to do with athletics. It's a novelty. It's fun to be in competition, but I have never forgotten the real element in reasoning is that we have to educate our youth. Football, athletics is an avenue to give kids, many underprivileged kids as well, the opportunity to get educated and help this country thrive.
And I want to mention this. T-Boy is when you're a true fan, is when you go to the games way back when they didn't win a game to when success came in years later. I mean, you were there at the bottom when it was the bottom of the bottom, and now it's really the sunshine's coming out. Billy Napier's doing a great job. Talk about what do you think of Coach and what he's done in such a short time?
Well, the irony of all this is a good friend of mine that played for the 2003 LSU Tigers called me and said, look, I played next to Rob Sale, who's the offensive coordinator line coach, and he said, this is the guy you need. And I passed it on to our AD, and I didn't know they did that well. It was on the list. And then he gets the job. But what he's done, it's not only coaching, because I asked our AD, who comes from his pedigree is Big 8, Big 12, I think it is.
Yeah.
And then the SEC. So he had been at Missouri for a long time, and he worked under Mike Alden, who came in to analyze and revamp our leadership situation with athletics. And we hired Maggard. And he told me it isn't that complicated. He said you hire good coaches, you give them enough money for good assistants, and he said you give them the resources. And UL's administration has provided more resources. They have a training table now. They have a tremendous nutrition program that I started years ago, just collecting $100 here, $200 there,
mm-hmm.
and there was no nutrition program at all at UL. Then my friend Gerald Hebert went over to Angela Made Bread. They started providing bread, and there was the Savor Center gave us peanut butter, gave us jelly. I mean, we had nothing.
Yeah.
Now the coach that came in, that we have, the strength coach, said it's one of the. He said he thinks it's the best in Group 5, and it would rival some Power 5 schools because they really have a great nutrition program there now. So my passion is for the full implementation of in an attempt to be better, because you have to compete. I was there in the late 90s after Stokely left, as you know, where, I mean, we had won 6 games in 3 years, and you know, just there saying living on hope.
Right.
And then there were no facilities. You know, now we have this big old beautiful APC. They built the indoor facility first, and now we have a beautiful baseball stadium. So Dr. Sabwa has done a great job, and the fan base has done a great job supporting the program.
T-Boy, before we let you go, I got to ask you this as a fan. You travel to a lot of games, not just football, but baseball and all sports at UL. What are some of your favorite places to go as a fan supporting the Cajuns? Some cities that come to mind for sports that you go to watch the Cajuns play? Anything stick out to you?
Yeah, you know, when you go to your bigger venues like Texas, it's interesting, very nice. But we follow baseball. We went to Savannah, Georgia this year. You know, went to Coastal Carolina, very, very rich place. Those places as such. We go to Troy, and as you know, that's in the middle of Alabama, a little bit different. But you know, we're going to Houston. We're going to see them play Rice, the baseball team. I think we have an upcoming program again with Matt Deggs, Coach Deggs. So, and look, don't count the Cajuns out this year with the team they have come back in football. People have to remember, when you're ranked in the top 30 in any poll, like the coaches poll, you are eight conferences below the best this year, which was the SEC. ACC and SEC normally struggle for first place. SEC most of the time. But when you're that far down the totem pole and you can achieve a top 30 coaches poll rating, that's pretty impressive. And remember that our right guard, Kevin Dotson, was the AP first team All-American. And if Hunt, the right tackle, wouldn't have gotten hurt and would have played the last 4 or 5 games, I'm being told he will probably go as high as Dotson or higher. So to be able to do that at our level, I have to give Hudspeth some credit as well. He brought him in,
right? And
there were three more players. So, you know, the places I visited, it's all good venues. People are basically nice people. They normally invite you in. It isn't like Auburn going to Alabama, if you understand what I'm saying, or vice versa. But yeah, it's a fun thing to do. It's a novelty. It fills in the gap for those things I don't do. I don't play golf. I go to the gym a lot. So it's just a passion. And we try to invest our money and time into being successful, helping.
One last thing, T-Boy, a message for any UL fans out there listening. Anything to say? Anything to say to any of the fans for UL with the season going on, with baseball starting? Come out, support the team, right?
Season. You know, baseball's going to sell out. I know there's a pervasive problem with attendance throughout the country, even with the larger programs.
Right.
And they're adjusting stadium sizes. They're going to try to appeal to people with more money that can buy premium seating, which is smart. So I'm not so concerned about the baseball, softball, the summer sports, Olympic
basketball,
sports, basketball, because basketball, they're having a problem now. And even Cajun basketball, women's basketball is winning. They beat Arkansas State by 40 points last night. So Broadhead's bringing it around. But overall, I stress the fact that we need people in this. We need people in the seats, in the stands, and we're going to have a good baseball season this year. It's going to be excellent, and I think the football season is going to be as well. So, you know, buy tickets, show up, and support your team. And
I love it. Every time UL gets a commitment, you text me, and you always ask me, how good's this kid?
Yeah. Well, you know, let me tell you something. The way Bebe Ogeron's recruiting, you said yourself there's a couple of kids that would have probably gone to LSU.
Yeah.
Based on the way he's recruiting. And we never got those kids.
Right. Never.
And you always say, well, y'all should get them. Well, we have facilities and we have resources now with facilities stated, you know, with the new student center, the cafeteria, nutrition, the APC. I mean, we have resources, so they do stay home, some of them, and we've gotten some good athletes. Because let's face it, like Saban or not, he said it's about the Jimmies and the Joes that you bring in. When you win for, you're not the X's and O's, and that's true. And the Tigers proved that this year.
Well,
the Tigers had, you know, so we're always trying to do better, and in the conference we play in, I think we've done pretty well when you look at where we're playing. And we were ranked above, and the power ratings show we're ranked above the Conference USA and the MAC again this year, you see. So, you know, it's getting better, And I'm hoping one day we can move up in conference, maybe to the AAC, which would be the best fit for us.
And T-Boy, you know that me being in scouting, I'm always going to shoot you straight back on how good these kids are, and I'm always very high when they get a big-time player, and you can tell all, we want all the Cajun fans to know that they are getting big-time players, and the program is definitely on the right track with Coach Napier in football.
I agree. Totally agree.
And thank you, T-Boy. Look, don't hang up yet. We're going to play some music, but thank you. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today. It's time for the human touch.
Every week we do a human interest story, and before we introduce our guest is the head coach of Tioga High School football. Does an incredible job. Kevin Cook went 9-2 this past year. They defeated North DeSoto in the first round of the Class 4A playoffs before losing to the NFL team, Warren Easton, 38-23 in the second round. And he's been really doing a great job, and they've got really good passing offense, and he's really done a good job developing players. But
it's been consistent, too.
The human interest story of this is that coach is also a pastor when he's not coaching. And he's also the athletic director. Coach, how do you have a life?
Well, it's a great life. I can't complain about it, but it is a busy one. I'm also not gonna cherry coat that. It's very busy.
Talk to we've got a lot of coaches that are going to be hearing this, a lot of mom and dads, and just people in general. But Coach, how do you being a pastor and being so involved in church? I mean, it's really such a great thing you're doing for kids and families, and then to go talk to your team, before the game, after the game, and what is so important to you as a coach to be a coach now in high school football in Louisiana in 2020?
I think the most important thing, or at least I feel like the most important thing that we do as coaches is help mold boys into young men. And when the Lord gives us a son, and I've been blessed with a daughter and two sons, they don't come out as grown men or grown women as far as that part goes. And it's up to us to mold them into men. And I think it takes more than just mom and dad nowadays. And so many times, we're missing one of those elements of the family, either mom or dad. And that's where someone, like a football coach or a basketball coach or volleyball coach can step into that role and help fill that gap up and be that, hopefully Christian role model is what we aim to be here.
Coach, was it before coaching that you became a pastor? Or did you do that after you got into coaching?
Well, it's kind of interesting. And it really all revolves around football, to be honest with you. I did grow up in a pastor's home. My wife grew up in a pastor's home. But, I just helped my dad out with the church and preached pretty regular for him. And as his health got worse and worse, I'd preach more and more early on. And then my wife and I got away from the ministry for a few years once my dad retired, and just, regular members, and there's nothing wrong with that. And we enjoyed that. But, it came time. I was the head coach at Buckeye High School, and I'd been praying. My wife and I both had been praying that we could get back into the ministry,
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, a school named Bunkie had called me for a job interview, and honestly, I really just went to be courteous. We had just won our second district championship at Buckeye. the school had only won one in 50 years.
Yeah.
We had just won 2 more, and had plenty of money in the football account and great support, and was going to have a great team the next year. But for some reason, long story short, I just took that other job, and it was over 50 miles from my home. And I was speaking at a Rotary Club meeting in Avold Parish one day, and a man comes up to me afterward and said, my name's Jack Osteen. I used to coach football myself, and now I'm, in pastor, and now I'm just a full-time pastor. And, a lot of people say they've coached football, and I didn't think much about it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
And so fast forward a little further, few months down, we form a relationship. He calls me one Saturday about a church 5 miles from my home that needed someone to preach at it that Sunday. Their pastor they didn't have a pastor, and the fill-in guy was sick. So I went to this church that was literally 5 miles from my home, and I became the pastor of that church, and I was there 5 years until this summer. And then at such time I switched over to Pineville First Assembly. So the Lord literally took me to a job 52 miles from my front door to make me pastor 5 miles away from my house. And then, just to close the story off, he brought me right back to Tioga the next year. The job opened, and they hired me, and now I work 7 miles from the house. So that was just kind of my track as far as the ministry goes as it concerns football. But, if I hadn't taken that other football job, I probably wouldn't be a pastor right now. So.
Yeah, and I'm glad we could bring you on, because we always get caught up in stats, who's being recruited, who's coming back, wins, losses. But bottom line, it's about, like you said, molding these young men and women for the next phase in their life. It's not just being the coach. And people forget, like Jace's dad's a head football coach at East Iberville. It's the family. Those kids are your family. I mean, you spend so much time with them that you are you're part of the family. So it's very important.
It is. I tell you, one of the greatest blessings I've had in the last 5 years here at Tioga is that 2 of my players, now one from my time at Buckeye and then one from my first year here at Tioga, they've called me and asked me to perform their wedding ceremony, and that has meant so much to me, more than any championship or more than any playoff game that we've won. And I had a young man who called me this year, and we struggled with him. He was a handful. We're just going to say it like that. And and I struggled with him at times, but he joined the military. He graduated last year, joined the military. And when he got out of boot camp, he called me. He called his mama, and then he called me and told me, all the things that we had, been teaching him through the 4 years he was with us. And it's like the Lord just helped the light bulb to come on, and it all resonated with him all at the same time. And he's doing great for himself now. He's in the United States Army, and just a fine young man. But once again, like, we're a lot of as coaches, we have an opportunity to be that person to so many people. And I will say this about all of our football coaches who do it right and try to instill some Christian values into kids. Those guys who are out there like that, they get a chance to touch so many people. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of times when this job's not fun. Football coaching in high school has become a much higher pressure job than it was, 10 or 20 years ago.
And 20 hours a day, right, Coach?
Well, it is. I was up here at the stadium, and it's off season, and I got home at 9:30 last night. Now my wife's got the flu or what, and I'm getting home at 9:30, and I left at 6:30, and it's not even football season, and she's just like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Babe, I'm doing my job," right? And of course she doesn't complain unless she's sick, which she was. Right. I didn't blame her, but and that's another thing I try to share with our coaches here. I've had 2 offensive coordinators that have gone on to be head coaches, and my defensive coordinator could be a head coach at any given phone call because he's good enough to be. But when the Lord calls you to be the head coach of a football team, he has to call your wife and family. Mm-hmm. And you have to have the right wife just like when the Lord calls you into the ministry. There's a lot of people, I believe, that could be pastors, but they'll never be able to actually fulfill that because their wife doesn't feel that calling also. And so even with our children, with 3 kids, the Lord has to call your wife and kids to the ministry that you're in. And in my case, my wife's been called to both. And it hasn't always been easy, but the Lord's provided for us in every way that you could possibly imagine even. And so I'm just thankful that right now I have the health and well-being and the support to be what I think God wants me to be right now until he calls me to something different.
Well, Coach Cook, thanks for sharing your story with us. Because again, we don't want it to just be about football and wins and losses, and getting to know Coach Kevin Cook at Tioga High School, man. I mean, I want to join up already, man. So,
I had a parent meeting not long ago, and and every year I kind of have my notes that every coach goes through. But I told them, I said, look, if you're trying to join football here just because of winning, then you need to get out.
Right.
We're not here for championships. Now we want to win. That's how I pay my bills, is this job. But I said, I am personally here to be part of building boys into young men who are morally right, tax-paying, great husbands. Like, that's what I want to build. And that's what we're trying to do. And if you're not wanting to be part of that, if you're just interested in a golden football, then, you can go down to the trophy shop and buy your own. You're at the wrong spot. So,
Coach Cook, thank you for joining us. And you're an inspiration to a lot of us. Keep doing a great job. And glad we have you as a coach here in Louisiana and on the high school level. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
That was Coach Kevin Cook with Tioga High School.
It's time for the archive interview.
Love the archive interviews. This week is former LSU center from Slidell, Louisiana, from Slidell High School, Mike Gambrell, who was an all-SEC center, played in the 82 Orange Bowl against Nebraska. One of the, I think, top centers to ever play at LSU. You don't hear his name a lot, but I thought he was very, very good. Here's his take on the Joe Moore Award that was given LSU this year.
But to get back, before we go to the Saints, Mike, I was gonna ask you something in the last segment.
About the LSU offensive line winning the Moore Trophy.
The Moore Trophy.
Right.
They didn't have that when you played. What would that have done for an O-line?
You've coached an offensive lineman. It's never about being, a star as an offensive lineman. It's all about the team. And, never everybody always returned to the offensive line. We always ate together. That's how you were as an offensive line, as most cohesive unit. You really had to be that way, especially now, especially in the LSU offense the way it is now. You really got to know what each other are doing every other play. And to see them win that award after, that was one of the question marks for this year's team was the offensive line. They struggled a little bit last year. And
guards.
to see them play the way they have all this year and to win that trophy and be acknowledged as the outstanding line, just congratulations to all of them. Just, as an O-line, just happy to see them get some recognition. And they're just an incredible group of athletes. We're talking about the changes. I was 270 at most when I played. We had 2 guys on the team for 300 pounds. I couldn't even be a fullback these days.
You'd be redshirting to gain more weight.
Eating milkshakes and stuff. Yeah. They're cutting me off in the ice cream machine because they think I'm getting too fat, But just an incredible group of young men playing offensive line this year, protecting Joe Burrow.
Scouting tape.
It was a great interview with Mike Gambrell. I was glad to be able to play that. It's our archive interview of the week, Mike Gambrell.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Make sure to tune in this week to Louisiana Football TV Magazine as host Lee Brecheen brings on big-time guests, recruits, coaches, you name it. You can catch the show on YourView, Channel 4 in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Lafayette, CW21 in Shreveport-Bossier City area, CBS in Lake Charles, ETEL in Ascension, and ETEL Vision in Houma, Lafourche. Check your area for local listings.
Hey parents, listen up. Recruiting advice from Lee Brecheen.
Hi everyone. I hope you're enjoying the show first of all, and you're getting a chance to interact, hear high school coaches, recruits, college coaches, and there's a reason for that. Over the last 26 years, I've made relationships with college coaches and have worked with colleges. Behind the scenes, I'm not one of those guys, and Jace will tell you this, I'm not somebody that has a handle on the internet putting everything out there, And so, my correspondence with college coaches is kind of on a private side, to where it's, kids' information is private, and some things you just keep private and you don't share with the public. And I work for a lot of parents and have for many years. But if you're a parent out there that needs help, you don't know how to make a highlight tape the way the college coach wants it. That's key. You need someone to be honest about how good is your son really, right? Get away from the emotion that every mom and dad thinks their kid's the greatest, but you need a true someone to be honest with you, and someone to get the tape to the colleges and get it out at the right time and do all the right things and consult with you for over a year or 2 or 3 years, depending on how old your kid is coming up. So email me if anyone's interested, any mom or dads out there. It's lbrecheen@aol.com. That's LBRECHEEN as in Nancy at AOL.com. And feel free to email me and we could talk and I can help you as much as I can. Or if you want to hire me to help you through the process with your son coming up through sports. And sometimes moms and dads just need help with this stuff. We're going to be talking about our recruit of the week, which is Jabbar Triplett. We had a taped interview that Jace actually did, Jace Lejeune, at Catholic High School this summer. And since then, he's committed, Jabbar Triplett has, to Arizona.
Yep.
Which I hope he signs there. So when you hear this interview, it's not someone else.
Yeah, we'll see. You never know how recruiting goes.
But Southern Lab High School, great school. Some of the greatest players I've ever seen out of Baton Rouge. Marcus Spears, the late Byron Jackson, who had 71 career interceptions, Jace, before you were born. 71 interceptions. Leonard Harris, that played back in the 80s at LSU, D lineman. Thomas is going to be a big-time O-lineman for LSU.
Tyrion Davis.
Chris Allen at Alabama.
Damone
Clark. I mean, it's just on and on and on. This school produces a lot of NFL players and great student athletes. Let's hear what Jabbar Triplett's got to say with Jace.
I'm here with linebacker Jabbar Triplett from Southern Lab. Jabbar, thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Just kind of talk about this event. A lot of your teammates have been on the cover, have been in this position years past, like Cordell and Tyrion Davis. What's it just kind of be in this position this year and be that guy?
This is a good thing for me, to be out here, being in front cover and everything, and coming out here to this event.
Yeah, it really is. And do you remember your stats from last year?
Yes, sir. 120 tackles, 5 interceptions, 7 sacks.
You're kind of versatile. You got a couple interceptions, got a couple sacks. What is your biggest strength? Is it rushing the passer, coverage?
It'll be rushing the passer.
Rushing the passer?
Yes, sir.
Is that an area that you need to work on, is coverage? Is that,
sir.
you feel like?
My coverage, yes, sir.
Okay. What are some offers that you received so far?
Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, LA Tech, South Alabama, ULM, Southeastern, Tulsa, Grambling, Southern.
Okay, and you've learned under some great linebackers. There's been, like, Southern Labs, a lot of great linebackers.
Yes, like Damone Clark, Christopher Allen, Javon Ferguson, Dorian Welch.
Well, what have you picked up from those guys to just kind of carry on that tradition?
I just started off young out there, so I just watched them and got better as a player. They taught me everything that I need to know.
Yeah, man. I guess, let's see. As far as the team goals, obviously I want to go to the state championship, compete in the state championship. What do you think about this year's team will help y'all get there this year?
Hard work and effort. We're a pretty young team this year, so I got to be a leader on the field, might be a senior, help the young guys out so we get to the championship again.
Any last messages to the colleges that were recruiting you?
That y'all be getting a good player, and I'd love to come play for the college. Anybody that wants me.
Well, I appreciate it, Jabbar, for your time. Thanks for coming, and good luck this year.
Jabbar Triplett, this is prior to his senior season that you just heard the interview with Jace Lejeune. Great young kid. I like him a lot. One of the guys that I told Jace to invite this summer, if Arizona gets him in the end, if he signs with Arizona, man, they're getting a stud linebacker. It's going to be, I think, a 3-year starter. Could go in and start 4 years. 6'1", 220, runs a 4.5, 4.6 40. If LSU needed a lot of linebackers, he goes to LSU, I think. But they just didn't have a need to sign a bunch of linebackers. But he's a local guy that I think is going to play in the NFL one day. That's just my opinion.
I mean, Coach Asbury, the head coach of Southern Lab, was just going on and on about this kid. So it shows you his character and what he is as a football player.
And before we end this, there's a receiver at Southern Lab. It's also a DB that's phenomenal.
They have a receiver, Reginald Johnson.
Is phenomenal.
He's a phenomenal player as well. He made a lot of plays in that Assistant Catholic game I went to.
Was committed to Houston University.
Yes,
taking visits, and I'm very curious to see where Reginald goes because he's 6'2", 185, can run. I think he's going to be an NFL player. Just from a scouting standpoint, he's as good as anybody nationally LSU signing. He doesn't have 5 or 4 stars and all that stuff, but throw away the stars, just like Jefferson. I saw Justin Jefferson at Destrehan, and the reason Justin signed late with LSU because he qualified late. It had nothing to do with talent.
Right.
But he wasn't ranked high by the national people. But I saw him. I remember telling a few people that this kid's the best receiver in the state. You know, I got people.
I remember.
I remember telling you that, watching him return a punt return 80 yards against Woodlawn in Baton Rouge, and he just had it. Yeah. And but the grades coming late was a great. It just was meant to be to go to LSU because he qualified after signing day, and Ed was new, so he had a scholarship.
If you think about it, like a lot of the guys that LSU picked up late turned out to be some of their best players, like Foster Morrow, Lloyd Cushionberry, and of course Justin Jefferson. Look at what he's doing.
Maybe our cover helped with Foster because we had Foster on the cover in May, and they're not recruiting him until like November, December of his senior year. But he wasn't ranked.
No, he
wasn't.
But
I saw Foster playing a basketball game, and then I saw him play against my alma mater, Central. I'm like, this guy can play football. He had great hands. He could run. Saw it on the court. The rest is history, man.
Basketball guys panned out playing tight.
You can't go with these rankings. You just got to throw the stars out. Either you can play at a certain level or you can't. And so that's why we're doing this podcast, just to keep rolling that out. That is our recruits.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today. It's time for the college football update.
Welcome back, Lee Brecheen, your host, and today's college update notes it's about the Senior Bowl and the Hula Bowl. And the reason we want to talk about this is because there's a lot of Louisiana natives playing in these two bowl games. And if you're not familiar with these two bowl games, it's a chance to showcase your talent to the college, to the pro teams. All the scouts are there, especially Senior Bowl, and they have a chance to evaluate you and get to know you. A lot of people understand this is where they get to know the individual, and you're drafted basically off of what you do in practice. The fans, that's a whole different thing when the game's on. Mm-hmm. You're already drafted like in the mindset of the pro scout. The whole week of practice and full pads, that's where you get your grade.
It's well deserved.
So when the game's played, they want to see you make plays in the game, but they get to know you about the grading you in the practices where the college fans don't get to see that.
Yep, right. It's
unless you go watch practice in Mobile, which a lot of people can't drive to Mobile to do that. Some do. I've always wanted to, but I've never been able to take off to go over there. But let's talk about some of the players in the game from Louisiana or from a Louisiana college. LSU is well represented. They could have had as many as 7 players. But Christian Fulton decided not to play in it, I guess, just to rest, which I don't blame him.
It's a smart decision. I mean, he's projected first-round draft pick.
As a corner from Archbishop Rummel High School, he'll go second round at the latest. I hope he goes late first. I'm hoping he does. I like the kid and know his dad and everything. The other player, obviously, Joe Burrow, passed on it to rest.
First overall pick.
What do I need to prove? Right. They wanted him to run some plays because the Bengals coaching staff's on the staff of this game. So I think they want to get to know him outside of the ability, and, hey, he's a great guy. So Joe Burrow, not going to hurt his draft status. I don't think it's going to hurt Fulton because he's going to train at LSU. He'll run the 40. He'll probably go to the combine and all that stuff. If he does well, he's good. If he runs a 4.45, he's good. Burrow run a good 40 time too, I think.
I really don't think Burrow really needs to do much.
Well, he might at the combine.
Yeah, he might throw a couple.
Or LSU. They have the choice, either LSU or the combine. And then you have Stefan Sullivan from Donaldsonville, Louisiana. I think
There's been a lot of talk about him.
Well, I mean, he's 6'5", he's 7'1" in length. He's 240, runs a 4.55 or 4.6.
He's a freak of nature.
And when I scouted him in high school, he was
Donaldsonville.
He's about 205, 6'4", 6'5", and he played behind 3 great receivers at LSU.
That's incredible.
And I think he's close to being polished. He's not there, but that's why he wasn't the main guy this year. But
he's definitely got the biggest upside.
He can end up being a great player in the pros, and he might end up being a tight end if he keeps getting bigger.
He's a matchup weapon for sure.
Then there's Blake Ferguson, whose brother Reed Ferguson starts for the Buffalo Bills, and he was the deep snapper for LSU. Well, he's a deep snapper in the Senior Bowl. Blake Ferguson's from Georgia. Long line of family members that are deep snappers. I think Blake will be a starter in the NFL like Reed.
I agree with you.
Okay, and so he'll be a deep snapper. I don't think LSU's ever had 2 deep snappers in the NFL at one time.
And they're both brothers.
And they're brothers.
And they're both brothers.
And then there's Damian Lewis, who's from Mississippi, from Canton, Mississippi, junior college from Mississippi, had a great 2 years at LSU. He's a man-child. He benches close to 600 pounds. He's throwing people around at the Senior Bowl. They had some clips where he's just throwing people on the ground and getting on top of them.
And one of the guys he threw down was one of the top defensive line prospects, senior-wise, from the draft.
And they were working him at center, too, which is interesting. So he could be a center, guard. And then there's, speaking of center, Lloyd Cushenberry, who is showing people nationally that he's dominant. So in Senior Bowl practice, I'm getting feedback that he is killing it.
He should be the number 1 center taken in the
draft.
He
might be a first-round pick now because of his grades.
Second.
Because they're seeing he was the best O-lineman for LSU. From a technical standpoint, the formations, getting everybody lined up, Cushenberry he's going to be tough to replace. Then there's kicker Bailey Hale from Louisiana Tech, who is from Texas, from Iowa Park, Texas. In 2018, he was 15 of 22 in field goals, which is okay.
He had a better junior year.
No, his senior year. Senior year, he had 15 of 18.
Okay.
And he was 4 of 7 from 40 to 49 yards. He's got a chance to be a pro kicker, and he's got to work on kickoffs. And you also have some other players like Shea Patterson's in this game from Calvary Baptist. Quarterback.
Long, winding road.
Ole Miss.
Michigan.
Didn't have a great senior or junior year.
He came on late. He had some good game. He had a good game at Ohio State.
But I thought Michigan lacked the pieces around him.
Yeah.
Harbaugh, they didn't have a great running back. They didn't have great receivers. And their O-line, for some reason, usually is great, was not
up
great.
To standard. Yeah.
And let's talk about the Hula Bowl. The Hula Bowl is also big-time LSU players and a lot of underrated players in the senior class for LSU. Braden Fajuco started his career at Texas Tech. He's from Hawaii. He played at St. Louis High School. I think he's going to be a 4th, 5th-round pick probably and be on a team. He's a great personality guy. Badar Torre, who's from New York, actually Boston, Massachusetts, was at a New York junior college. This is his chance to show the pro scouts. He's 6'7", 330.
Oh, he looks the part for sure.
If he wants to get drafted, he's got to have a good week. Adrian McGee, same thing. Had a great senior year. Didn't even play hardly prior to this year.
From Franklin, the highlight of the year was that pancake block.
From Franklinton, Louisiana. I'm pulling for him. If he has a good week, he could get drafted. Now, and here's some other Louisiana players. I mean, it's loaded with Louisiana. Hula Bowl's loaded with Louisiana players.
Yep.
Kurt Kelly from John Ehret from Troy. People forgot about Kurt Kelly from John Ehret High School. Jalen Bates, who started at Arizona State from Kaplan High School, finished at Colorado State. He's a DN.
Okay.
Nate Evans, who hit Joe Burrow in the bowl game.
Central Four.
Yeah, so he's played at John Curtis. He's a Mike linebacker. He's in the game. And Kalia Lipscomb from Jesuit High School, receiver from Vanderbilt, who had a couple of good plays against LSU.
He was one of their best offensive weapons this year, one with the running back.
Well, scouting Lipscomb in high school, I was high on him. I thought he was big time. And he happened to go to Vandy and do great. I think he holds some records for them. But if you're watching the Hula Bowl, it's full of Louisiana guys. And the Senior Bowl is full of some Louisiana guys in LSU. So that is our take this week, our college notes, Senior Bowl, Hula Bowl. It's this weekend. When you hear the show, we'll be talking about how they did on Monday on our next podcast.
It's time for the coaching carousel.
Jace, it's that time of year where college coaches get hired, fired, or retired.
Yep.
Sometimes it's retire not on their own accord. Sometimes they're pushed out.
Yep.
And then they get out of retirement, kind of like Urban Meyer did, right, from Florida, and then go back, take a break, go to Ohio State.
He's probably going to do the same thing soon.
The grind of this job is incredibly horrible. I mean, it's a great sport. I love football, but I did film for 12 years for these colleges before Huddle came out. For 12 years, I was a part of their life because they wouldn't allow me to work differently than them. So I was working 18, 19, 20-hour days watching film.
And it's like 365 days a year.
And you don't have a life. Like, if you're winning, you don't have a life. If you're losing, you don't have a life. And so we're going to talk about Coach Munoz from LSU. It's not confirmed. When you hear this on Monday, it might be. Right. But there's rumors that he is taking a position with Baylor. We'll know Monday, right? But as of now, it's a rumor. We'll see what happens. I'd like to see Coach Munoz stay at LSU and get moved up.
He was an underrated part of
Big
what
time.
they did offensively.
I know this as a fact, Jace, that Munoz was as involved as Brady, and he was doing a lot of the work for them, working with Steve. It was just great chemistry.
It was really a three-headed monster. Everybody's saying a two-headed monster.
Right. And Munoz had a lot of time at ULL and did a great job there.
Yeah, they went to a couple bowl games. Terrence Broadway.
He's an up-and-coming coach. And so the media tends to always just get fascinated with one guy, and they went Brady. And it's well-deserved. But this guy, Munoz, Jorge Munoz, is a up-and-coming star. And so I don't want to say today because this will come out on Monday, this show.
Wait till it's actually confirmed.
Yeah, so we're hope he stays at LSU. And then there's Dave Aranda leaving LSU to go to Baylor. I think it's a great opportunity. You can't be mad at Dave Aranda.
Yeah, he said it's going to take the right coaching job, head coaching job, and that was.
I just want to see if Dave can recruit.
That's my biggest question.
As a head coach.
Yeah, that's my biggest question.
He recruited linebackers very well. I give him that. He saw linebackers like Patrick Queen, who played running back at Livonia. He made him a linebacker. He went into Tennessee, got Jacob Phillips. He saw that he was going to be a Mike. He recruited linebackers really well. Now, can he, I don't know. We're going to see how he does. But tell you what, the money they offered him.
And he's going to also have to compete for Texas with all those Texas schools.
And can you put a dominant defense in the Big 12?
That's going to be tough.
That means you got to recruit players from Texas and junior colleges, and you got to come to Louisiana and get in battles with your old boss.
Yep.
Name a great defense in the Big 12. I don't know of one. Even Oklahoma doesn't have a great defense.
No, I mean,
Texas might when they're healthy, maybe.
But
can Baylor be the first team to have a defense?
TCU has a recognition with Gary Patterson, but they haven't been.
If they don't build a defense, they're going to be a 6'6", 7'5" team.
Exactly.
So anyway, but I wish him the best. I hope he does well.
He's already taking some coaches from his old boss.
Yeah, he's a smart guy, And I just hope he does well, because at some point, maybe 7 years down the road, if Ed retires, I mean, Ed's pushing 60. And
yeah, he's getting up there.
Dave could be the future if he does well.
Who knows?
Never know. Joe Brady could come back, be the head coach, 8 to 10 years from now, maybe.
Yep.
And as far as the coordinator position at LSU, everybody's talked about it. I like Todd Grantham from Florida.
Yeah, I was about to ask who you think was going to be the.
And my reason and opinion for that is this. You need a D coordinator that knows the SEC. You know the battlegrounds, you know the coaches, you know the stadiums, you know the speed, the talent. If you hire Jim Leonard, who I like too at Wisconsin, who played for Wisconsin and learned from Aranda, played for Aranda, he's not familiar with the SEC. I think Aranda was so cerebral that he could coach anywhere. Just a genius guy. But Bo Pelini knows the SEC. And they won a national championship when he was there.
Yeah, in 2007.
Over Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So he's proven, Youngstown State head coach, great mind, great tough guy. He's different than Aranda. He's more vocal.
He's definitely a different personality than Dave Aranda.
I would be okay with Pelini being hired because he knows the SEC. He knows Baton Rouge. He knows LSU.
He's done it before.
Todd Grantham's been at Mississippi State and Florida.
And here's my question, Lee. What do you think he's going to leave from Florida to LSU? What's that?
Mullen's tough to work for, like Saban. I mean, he's tough. I love Dan Mullen. He's a tough coach. It's a grind. It's more of a grind than the normal coach. I mean, it's up there with Saban. Mm-hmm. And so Grantham might have to say, it's a grind, but what level of grind do I want to do, and do I want to change? Yeah. Do I see Florida dominating? And their recruiting's good, but LSU's on top of the world, so
you got all the momentum right now.
And they have a lot of defensive players coming back at LSU. I think the defense is going to carry the team next year until the quarterback position works out. Jace, I think the LSU coaching staff continuing on talking about it. Ed Orgeron just got a big contract, well-deserving, $42 million.
Yeah, I think it was like a 6-year, $42 million deal.
You will reward guys that win national championships. I mean, it's yeah. You hit the lottery when you do that. I mean, that's in the contract too. And he did really, I think, he surprised me winning it this fast. And he surprised me winning. I thought it would be a tough job to win for him. I'm gonna admit it. I didn't think that he would win a national championship because LSU's a hard place to win, and they've had trouble having a quarterback. They didn't have a quarterback until Joe Burrow transferred in, and it was just
having to deal with that program in Tuscaloosa.
It was magic. It was just a magical season for LSU and the fans, and I think it'll go down as the greatest season ever. I know they've got 3 other national championship teams.
Yeah,
we don't want to forget about those guys.
Right.
But I really think, what Ed did, it turned around everything for him to succeed. Mm-hmm. When you win a national championship, now you can keep this going. If you do all the right things, you can have a long career at LSU and have a shot to win more national championships. And but then also with the coaching staff, looks like Dave Aranda is going to have almost an all LSU Baylor staff.
He's still a lot of his former boss's stuff.
Yeah, but guys are moving up. Jorge Munoz, I think the paper's dry almost with his becoming a part of Baylor staff, probably his offensive coordinator. He's moving up, and I guess LSU's got other people in mind to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve's done
a great job, and Mickey Joseph didn't get any credit. He's involved there.
Coach, yep.
So they'll hire the right guy, and then Dennis Johnson, who played at LSU, he walked on from Mississippi. They called him Meatball.
Yep.
He signed Chasson. That was his claim to fame.
Yeah, he's a good recruiter.
He didn't coach this year because he got hurt.
Right, playing basketball.
Basketball going into the season, and Bill Johnson's one of the best ever, who knew Ed over the years, and Bill's phenomenal. He was at A&M for many years with the Wrecking Crew. He was in the NFL. He's a Louisiana guy. I don't know if Bill's coming back. So the key here is I don't know what they're going to do there, but if Bill decides to come back, great coach.
Yeah, then they'll be fine.
If he doesn't, then the new D coordinator will hire a great D-line coach. So that gives the new D coordinator a chance to pick his people outside of Corey Raymond. Mm-hmm. If Bill Bush stays. I don't know if, it looks like he might.
Yep.
At first it looked like he was leaving to join Aranda, But I hope LSU can keep Bush because he did a lot of great things for LSU.
He did. He's one of those guys instrumental in getting
Joe Burrow and Ipa from Utah, and his West Coast ties and his East Coast ties. So he's a great safeties coach. I think him and Corey Raymond work great together.
That's another big thing that they got Corey Raymond because I think Texas A&M was trying to take him away.
Yeah, Corey played at LSU, and I think it's always going to be LSU just needs to keep giving him a raise. You know, if you're not going to let him be D coordinator and not, have a bigger role,
right?
Then you're going to have to keep paying him more because teams keep offering more. And, he's in a great spot. I think every year he gets a big raise because there's someone trying to hire him away every year because he's got the DBU title, and now he can back it up. He's got seven of his DBs in the NFL right now.
Yep, and he's got a couple more on the roster already.
I'd say a little more than two, maybe 4 or 5 more. But that's everything with the coaching staff. This thing changes daily. When this comes out on Monday,
probably more.
We'll
probably get a D coordinator by then,
or maybe a new offensive receivers game management coach. You never know.
Coordinator, you never know. We'll find out.
Or Bill Johnson will know what he's doing, and Bill Bush.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Make sure to check out our website at lafootballmagazine.com for all the latest recruiting information statewide. This week, check out all of our recruiting interviews with all the latest prospects and coaches. Also, make sure to check out our website to stay up to date with our TV show each week. That website again is lafootballmagazine.com.
Baseball talk.
Yeah, Jace, it's that time of year with all the baseball starting up all around Louisiana. We'll start this week with LSU baseball. I'm a huge baseball guy. Actually, I don't know, Jace, a lot of people wouldn't know this about me, but I never really missed a baseball. I didn't miss 2 games, I think, when Ben McDonald was pitcher. You probably wasn't born then.
No, that was before I was alive.
So I didn't miss but maybe 2 home games in that 4-year stretch. Todd Walker came in later and Russ Johnson. Todd played at Airline High School. Russ played at Denham Springs. I didn't miss maybe but 3 or 4 games, home games during those 4 years. So I've been a baseball junkie too. My football, our TV show is just mostly football.
Mostly football.
We can't do a 5-hour show once a week. But I love LSU. I love baseball. And the team that's coming up this year for 2020, I think on paper, hitting and pitching wise, is the most talented team I've seen. Now,
oh, wow, they did lose a lot of people. Yeah.
But injuries, you got to stay healthy. I mean, I think it's just really hurt Maneri's teams the last 3-4 years. Eric Walker got hurt before the Florida series in Omaha, which
it set him back a little.
Could have won the national title. He's back, still getting back. I think he's going to be back to his old self because he went through a whole year after Tommy John.
That injury really set him back.
Cole Henry, he finished, but he missed a lot of last season. He's, I think, the best pitcher in the United States when he's healthy. He's throws 97, 98. He might be 100 before he leaves. Landon Marceau should have a phenomenal season. He had missed some time last year.
Had some bright spots last year.
He's going to be a great one from Destrehan High School. A.J. Labus from Florida, he missed last year, okay? Nick Stortz has missed 2 years from New York. Here's a guy that was all-state as a tight end at 6'6", 250, throws 96, and it's been 2 years because he's been fighting injuries. If they can get Stortz back, Labus back normally, Chase Costello was hurt, get him back. He's from Florida. His dad played at LSU back in the 80s. Mikael Hilliard, if he can get back, went to Central High School.
Yeah, he's had some good games over his career.
All these pitchers, this staff could be the most dominant pitching staff in college baseball. And Devin Fontenot has got a chance to be one of the best closers in the country for LSU. What a great job he did. He pitched against Florida State and had a great win against them in the semifinals last year. But I think Devin Fontenot will be a great reliever if they don't have any injuries and they don't have to put him in the starting lineup, Jace. Devin could be the closer. I think he could be the best guy in the country. And then infield, they're deep. Last year, they weren't deep. Mm-hmm. You got Collar Cranford from Zachary, freshman coming in. He's got all-world ability. You got Kay Darty from Denham Springs, has all-world ability. These guys can play second, third, shortstop. Zach Arnold comes in from California at 6'2", 190. He could play all the infield positions. You got Zach Mathis, who's 5'6". They got him at 5'8". Mm-hmm. Now, I got that from some players on the team.
Okay.
But they said he can jack home runs out 400 feet.
We got some hops.
he could be a big time. He could hit 15 homers this year, 20 homers. This could be a power hitting team with a great staff, great infield. In the outfield, I'm excited because Mo Hampton from the football team, he's coming in to be a center fielder. He was one of the top prospects in the country out of Memphis, Tennessee.
Yep.
He's bringing speed. He get on base. You're probably going to steal 30, 40 bases, right?
And you got his athleticism for sure.
You got C.J. Willis coming back, who played quarterback at Ruston High School. He's an outfielder, could play first. Kay Belelso is the first baseman from John Curtis.
Yep.
He could hit
freshman year.
This is his year to hit 15, 20 homers. Daniel Cabrera this is his year to dominate.
Yeah, he's been there a long time.
Okay.
So
Saul Garza is a great catcher coming on. He's a power hitter. I hope he gets his 20 home runs this year. He hit 25 or 30 in 1 year in junior college. And then you have Mitchell Sanford, who I'll watch Jace as a quarterback.
At Berwick High School.
At Berwick. He's 6'2". He's an outfielder. He's very athletic. And there's more players. I mean, Alex Malazzo's really the sleeper of the team as a catcher from Zachary. They said his ability to throw out runners, he's the best on the team. Better than anybody last year. One of the best they've had.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and then Jacob Hesty's a freshman pitcher that's from Texas that is another one. And Hayden Travinsky from Airline is 6'3", 240. He's capable of hitting 10 home runs this year coming in. Loaded. Just stay healthy. They got to stay healthy. This team could go and win it all this year, I believe.
Easier said than done, though. We'll see. This week in the NFL.
Jace, this exciting part of the year. I love the NFL games. I think things are changing this year. There's a lot of negativity, a year or two ago, and it's like everybody was divided. And I'm glad that the players are standing, and I'm glad everybody's getting along. And
now it seems forever.
Yeah, so I'm just glad for the United States. Everything's getting better there. But look, the Washington Redskins made their best hire to me in years. I mean, it's been a long time since they got a coach that I think can turn it around.
Since Joe Gibbs.
Joe
It's
Gibbs.
been that long.
Well, when they brought Joe back the second time, I think it was just too late.
Yeah.
Come back, help us. Let's the leak is there. Let's clog the leak. And he was just at a different part in his life. But Ron Rivera was a great football player for Mike Ditka for the Bears.
Yep.
People don't remember that.
85 defense.
Linebacker.
Yep.
He was a great player among great players. Richard Dent and Mike Singletary. People forget that he was on that defense. Gary Fensick, that was a great safety.
Dave Dorson.
And they had a lot of great players on that defense. And obviously William Perry, the refrigerator. Walter Payton, Jim McMahon. You had all kind of good players. But Ron Rivera, what he did in Carolina was phenomenal. It was just, they needed a change.
It wasn't necessarily his fault how everything went down, injuries, all kinds of stuff happened.
Sometimes it's time to go, and they need to rebuild, and Cam Newton's not going to probably be there next year, and it's a transition. Washington's got some great young talent. I'm going to tell you, they're going to kick some butt with Ron Rivera.
I think it's going to take a year or two, but I think they'll eventually get there with him.
Yeah, and then it might get a quarterback again. I don't know how they're going to,
I don't know what they're going to do with Dwayne Haskins, but I think they need somebody else, in my opinion.
I don't know, Jace. I can't give up on a rookie.
Yeah.
He needs another year. I mean, John Elway was horrible his rookie year. So was Bradshaw. So was, Brady didn't start his first year. But,
So got hurt.
Yeah. So, but turning our page to Cleveland Browns, the other team in the NFL that
I wasn't so great on this hire.
Well, Kevin Stefanski, I've got a little bit to the home base here, a little information. I'm friends with someone that knows his dad.
Okay.
Kevin's dad was an NBA guy.
Really?
So you grow up, and your dad's an NBA. His dad's an executive in the NBA, and it's an NBA family. I admire Kevin. He started out as an intern, Jace. You know, you started out as an intern, okay? And so Kevin started out like getting a coffee, okay? Like going to the mail room. Go get the mail. That's your job. This is a true story told to me by a friend of mine. So he ends up going in as just going getting the coffee and going to the mail room. That's his job. And that started way back in Philadelphia for the Eagles. So then he goes to Minnesota. 14 years, you don't know about him. He's on the staff. He's the longest tenured assistant in Minnesota, 14 years. Finally, he's offensive coordinator last year. Does great. 1 year.
Yep.
Now he's the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. What a great story.
It is a great story.
Started from the bottom. And he's a great mind. He chose the NFL path and not the NBA like his dad. And they love him. They think he's a guru. So they might have their best hire. We'll see.
I mean, I just feel like Cleveland needs a veteran guy that's been there, done that, just kind of help build stability with his franchise.
Moving on. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, Baker Mayfield, is he the guy? We're going to find out next year.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's year 3.
They definitely got the talent to do a lot.
But Baker's got to win those games late.
He's got to step up his game. Definitely.
Moving on, the Saints, the NFL draft, my opinion, Jace, they need a big-time receiver opposite of Thomas.
That's what they should get first round. Justin Jefferson might be available by that time.
A lot of
Jerry Jeudy. You have C.D. Lamb.
There's tons.
There's tons of great receivers.
There's probably 25 receivers in this
USC
draft.
has a great receiver that's going in the draft. So,
yeah, I mean, it's packed with impact guys that could be all pro. You can get a Juju Schuster-Smith, just like, with the kid at USC reminds me of this kid.
Michael Pittman Jr.
Yeah. 6'4", 220. Looks like Thomas in a way.
His dad was a great running back.
He was. Obviously, you can't pass on a great D tackle or an O lineman, maybe a corner.
Yeah, I think they need to boot up the secondary.
They got really shredded in the playoffs defending the pass. Now, they did have some D linemen hurt.
Yeah,
I think that caused them to get eliminated. Losing Shelton Rankins against San Francisco in the same game against San Fran, right?
Yep.
Just destroyed, I think, their chance to go deep in the playoffs. And finally in the NFL, Eli Manning retires after, 16 years?
It's been on since 2004. So that was that same draft class as Phillip Rivers and Ben Roethlisberger, and so since 2004.
It's amazing. He was a teammate of Deuce McAllister at Ole Miss. And Deuce has already been retired.
Doing radio.
From the Saints, right, for several years. So, got to give it to Eli. Won 2 Super Bowls, right?
Won 2 Super Bowls. He was an Iron Man.
2 MVPs.
Yeah, 2 MVPs.
He'll be known for that pass that was caught.
David Tyree.
Yeah, against New England.
Yep.
I think Brady and Belichick are still mad they didn't win that one. That would have been 7, maybe.
He would have won 8 Super Bowls
8.
If it wasn't for
the catch.
Yep, for the catch.
Well, Eli will probably get into coaching, don't you think?
I think he can go to him and his brother would be great as far as like doing broadcasts, and they would be perfect either in a coaching role or offensive corner or something like that.
Eli's not very talkative.
Eli's not very, but I can see Peyton more of like the broadcaster, and then Eli, I can see him going to coaching.
Peyton likes the camera.
Yeah.
He could sell anything.
Yeah.
I think he's on like 10 different commercials on 10 different products.
At least 10.
But he does a good job.
Yes.
But that's our week in the NFL.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.
Make sure to tune in this week to Louisiana Football TV Magazine as host Lee Brecheen brings on big-time guests, recruits, coaches, you name it. You can catch the show on YourView, Channel 4 in Baton Rouge, New Orleans, and Lafayette, CW21 in Shreveport-Bossier City area, CBS in Lake Charles, E-Tail in Ascension, and E-Tail Vision in Houma, Lafourche. Check your area for local listings. It's time for Lee's mailbag. All right, Lee. So we have some questions here sent from some fans about, just whatever questions they want to ask you. First off, we're going to go with Andrew from Cutoff. He wants to know, is next year the final year for the Super Bowl window for Drew Brees?
First of all, Drew's got to announce he's coming back. My gut is that he will come back at least another year. And the key is they need another big play receiver with Michael Thomas. Jared Cook turned out to be a great tight end. I know he had an injury. He missed a couple of games. But he's a great tight end, and that's improved. The O-line looks like they're getting improved. They've got some young guys, but they need to have another big-time, a Pro Bowler next to Thomas so they're unstoppable. With Drew getting up in age a little bit, he needs another dominant receiver to throw to because Thomas, some games they just double-team him, even though he caught 130 passes or whatever it was. You need a big-time receiver next to him. Ted Ginn's been solid, and other guys have been solid, but I'd love to see that happen. And look, as long as Drew's on the field, you have a chance. He went 13-3. It felt like a 9-7 season because it was over so fast. But
just how it ended.
Well, it ended, but 13-3 is incredible. But the Panthers, the Carolina Panthers are going to be better. Atlanta's going to be better.
I think the Bucs are going to be too.
They're going to be better. So. Can the Saints sustain? It's going to be hard, but playoff team definitely.
And then our last one, John from Houma, he wants to know, how confident are you that Miles Brennan will be LSU's starting quarterback next season?
We'll find out in spring. So, the key is Brennan's waited his turn. He knows the offense. They need him to be successful because he knows the offense. And he's mature. He's gained the weight. He's got an arm. The key is, can he scramble on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, like Joe Burrow did? He doesn't have to be Joe Burrow, but in this conference, you have to be able to have enough, the ability to run away from pressure to move the chains. Not be a Michael Vick, but just the ability to miss a pass rusher, stall, hit the 2nd, 3rd, 4th read. And we don't know. He wasn't put in the game to run plays where you could see that. It was real vanilla stuff when he got in the game. Game was over. They let him throw a pass here and there. There was no designed draw plays. So it's not fair to judge him until we see that in the spring, if he can do it or not.
We'll be right back on the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen. Parents, are you looking for advice on getting your high school athlete recruited by the right college? Lee Brecheen is your answer. Lee has been doing it for over 30 years. He knows the ropes, and more importantly, he knows the people. Lee offers turnkey service from evaluation, creating highlight tapes in the correct format, and complete guidelines for effective communication with the schools. No matter the sport, girl or boy, no matter what grade your child is in, let Lee Brecheen help match your child to the right college fit. Go to our website, lafootballmagazine.com, and get connected today. It's time for our game picks.
Welcome back. We're going to pick the Super Bowl champions. I'll let Jace give his opinion on who will win, and I'll give my 2 cents. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs, and the reason I'm going with the Chiefs is because Patrick Mahomes, I don't think they can stop this kid. I think he's maturing into a great quarterback. I don't think you can defend him. He's kind of like the Joe Burrow of the pro football of the NFL. Like Joe did it in college, and then he's doing it in the NFL. He looks unstoppable. He looks like a 6'3" Russell Wilson, and I don't think you can stop him, and their defense is better. Kansas City's always had a good offense. but they have a really good defense, and they're led by Chris Jones from Mississippi State, who was all-world in the SEC. They got Tyrann Mathieu. They got a lot of really good players on that defense, a lot of young good players, and their offense is loaded at wide receiver. You got Hill coming out of the backfield catching balls. Hopefully Darrell Williams would come off the injured reserve for the Super Bowl. You got the other Williams kid, Damian Williams from Oklahoma, that's really lit it up as a running back. And you even got Spencer Ware. I hope he can come off the injured reserve to play in the game. And a lot of talent. Mo Claiborne's a backup from LSU at corner. He's really that nickel guy. But I think it's going to be like 42 to like 28. 42 Kansas City. They'll give up some points because Kansas City's not great on defense. They're really good, not great. And here's the biggest thing, Jace. I've got to mention this to the audience. Patrick Mahomes was not highly recruited out of high school.
He was not.
That's why you can't get caught up into the star system, because here's a guy, he didn't get an offer from Oklahoma, Texas, or Texas A&M, or LSU, or anybody in the Big 12. He grew up in Texas, and he's phenomenal. And look, he played LSU in the bowl game in Houston, Texas. LSU wins. You look back and go, how did they win? He scored a lot of points.
Yeah, he did. He really didn't have a lot of help. He had a receiver helping him up, went to the Miami Dolphins from Texas Tech, but that's pretty much all he had, weapons-wise.
And he put up, I think they put up close to 500 yards on LSU. They lost to LSU. But you go back and watch that game, and that's when you could tell how great this kid could be. He had almost 100 yards rushing on LSU. LSU played Lamar Jackson and beat him. Is LSU the only program to beat the two best dual threats within 5 years in a bowl game?
I would say so. I mean, I can't think of any better two than Lamar Jackson and the season he's had. And
that was O's first bowl victory, I believe, against Louisville.
It was. Yep, it was.
So,
his interim year.
Who do you have? Who do you pick in this game?
You know what? Let's make it interestingly. I'm going to go with San Francisco, just because every time there's been defense, the best defense versus the best offense, every single year, the defense comes up on top. So I like San Francisco can win 50 million ways. They can win 9-0. They can win 49-39. And I think they're going to put too much pressure on Patrick Mahomes. The defensive line is going to take over. They're going to run the football, keep Mahomes off the field. I tell you, I love their game plan. I love the matchup. I think it's going to be a close game, a little bit lower scoring than people think. But I think the 49ers are going to win the Super Bowl. I love their strategy with Kyle Shanahan and what they got going.
I'm going against my heart because I am a defensive guy. I'm only saying them to win Kansas City because of Mahomes only.
And I can see that because I am pulling for Andy Reid to win the Super Bowl. He definitely deserves one.
All those years in Philadelphia with McNabb, no Super Bowl win.
Yep.
All those great teams. I think he lost 4 or 5 NFC titles.
Yeah, NFC championship games. He only went to one Super Bowl, and that was against Tom Brady and Bill Belichick.
I mean, Philly had some great years before that. Randall Cunningham.
Yep.
And then Ron Jaworski. They won a Super Bowl. They lost to the Raiders.
Yep.
And Jim Plunkett in New Orleans. Yep. And actually, P.D. Piro was an O-lineman for the Eagles who went to Tech, I think Northwestern.
Yep.
And ended up playing 12 or 13 years as an offensive lineman.
Was head coach. Yep.
Yeah, they had the movie with Marky Mark.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, that was a great movie. When he was trying out, made the team.
Yep. Vince Papale was playing in the movie.
Yeah. But I'm going against all of my thinking here. I'm a defensive guy, but you might end up right on this because San Fran does have a phenomenal defense. Joey Bosa is unbelievable.
Yeah, Nick Bosa. Yeah.
And they're very talented. Quan Alexander's off the injured reserve. He's back. They've got great DBs. I can't believe that our Seattle Seahawks safety's back corner.
Yeah, Richard Sherman.
He's playing great at his age. I mean, 30-plus years of age. Had an interception in the last playoff game to seal the win. Well, actually, not to seal the win. But
it was pretty much about over by then.
Garoppolo, how do you say?
I can guarantee you this one thing. Garoppolo is going to throw more than 8 passes this game.
He might not.
But you never know.
He might not.
He might throw 10.
San Francisco, you got to take your hat off to the head coach because they were horrible prior to this year.
Yep.
For a long time. And that was my team growing up besides the Steelers.
Yep.
I liked Joe Montana and Steve Young.
Jerry Rice. And
Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, all those great players, Ronnie Lott. They had a great, great team, but I was a huge fan. a huge fan of the 49ers back in the 80s and early 90s.
Yeah, they were the team. Yeah.
And then they got a chance to be good for a long time.
Yeah, Kyle Shanahan, I mean, he definitely gets it from his dad. He is an offensive genius, and I just love their formula. They can win in 30 different ways, whether it's run the football, playing good defense, or they can outscore. They outscored the New Orleans Saints.
But I want to mention something. People only remember now, but the person that got them close, I'm going to go 2 people. Mike Singletary was a coach for 2-3 years.
Yeah,
he brought the toughness back. And then Harbaugh came in and lost 2 NFC titles.
And a Super Bowl.
So they were pretty good.
Yeah.
And then it went flat for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then they get this quarterback, and they rebuild their defense because their GM was
John Lynch
was a phenomenal player with Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yep, and the Broncos.
And he was at Stanford in college. John he might be the most talent evaluator in the NFL. What they did on this team, I mean, they got guys I didn't even know were on the team.
Raheem Mostert. Look at what he's doing.
Nobody knew who he was till
Look what he's doing now.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I follow football. I'm a fanatic, but goodness, there's 10 guys on this team that you're like, where did they come from?
And I guess the main thing, how they're winning football games, you just look at what they do in the draft. They go up front. They go in the offensive. They draft in the offensive line and defensive line.
But also notice they don't go after name receivers and running backs and DBs outside of Sherman.
Yeah.
Everybody's a no name.
Yep.
Can you play or can't you play? And so they'll take a free agent that's
Emmanuel
young.
Sanders or a Debo Samuel.
And they turn out to be great players for them. And I think it's less egos.
Yeah.
And there's just these guys are hungry. And then Bosa, man, Nick Bosa is just that family. Do they have another brother coming out?
They probably do. They probably have no one coming out.
Wow.
Yep. And George Kittle is a very
great
good
tight end.
Yeah.
They're young. Yeah, that's scary. I mean, it's scary how many Super Bowl appearances these guys might make in the next 5 years. And you know, like Terry Bradshaw said the other day on TV, he was the last quarterback, I think, in the Super Bowl to not throw it for less than 10 attempts.
Yeah, they went to the playoffs. I know the 72 Miami Dolphins, they threw less than 100 yards.
Bob Greasy,
and the Steelers in 74 and 75 because they ran the football with Franco Harris and they had the Steel Curtain on defense. So that's how they won football games.
Hey, if I'm a quarterback and only throw it 6 to 8 times, I'm happy. I mean, you're not even getting dirty. You're healthy. You're good to go for another 10 years. So what a great position to be in. That's a great O-line. But
yeah, exactly.
We'll see what happens. By the time the show comes out, the game still is in question, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we got like another week left, so yeah, we'll see who's right, Lee.
We'll see. We'll see. I'm going with Mahomes over my defensive.
I can definitely see it.
I'm a defensive guy.
Yep. So
but I'm gonna go with the guy that I just think he's just so good, and if the game is close, he's just that new guy that's just going to win in the last minute, like an Aaron Rodgers when Aaron was a little younger. Yeah. Maybe Drew Brees way back, and you know the old Dan Marinos and people that did that. Montana, John Elway, Bradshaw, all those guys. So and Russell Wilson, I'll throw him in there. But that's our NFL predictions.
Okay, Lee. To wrap it up, because we're kind of getting close to the end of the show, what's just your final thoughts about everything? Especially today's show.
Really enjoyed bringing our defensive coordinator on from East Central Mississippi to educate parents, junior college D coordinator Mickey Mays. Very happy that Kevin Cook came on from Tioga High School and human interest story. Recruits, we had a great interview with Blake Shapen on his way to Los Angeles for his USC visit. And we hope that the audience really tells friends. Be sure to hit the subscribe button when you get an email from us so you can help us grow. We don't have any advertising dollars right now. We're doing it strictly to grow it. The love of the game, bring something to the public that just interesting topics every week. And we want your feedback. So email me at lbrecheen@aol.com and tell me what you liked, what you didn't like. And we're still trying to basically see how long we're going to have the show. And then when we do grow it, we do sell advertising, we'll know what segments to keep. And we hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for listening to the Sports Scouting Report podcast with Lee Brecheen.